All right, welcome to the Caddies United Happy Hour podcast. On this, we're calling the Fans Edition. We visit with four fans from the state of New York. Plus, we got Scott Sajtinac, a.k.a. the Prez. We're also joined by caddy turned bookmaker Joe Duplantis. I'm your host, D-Lo, and this is the Happy Hour. So let me start by introducing our guests. We have Ty coming in from South Carolina, Nico, Lorenzo, Joe, and James, all New York fans we met during the PGA Championship at Bethpage Black. So cheers, boys. Good to have you on the Happy Hour podcast. Look forward to having a couple of beers and, just telling stories, golf or whatever. So I'll give a brief history just to our listeners so we know how this group came to be. It was 2019 PGA Championship, Bethpage Black. I was scheduled to stay with Scott and Joey Duplantis and one other, Brian B. Reed, who's not here today. But we had rented an Airbnb in a North Babylon, which is 30 minutes maybe away.
You were the one who made the reservation, by the way.
I made the reservation, and I don't know what happened. There was some rain delays flying in. But I know that Joey and Scott were the first ones there in a shitstorm of rain. So yeah. I'm going to pass over this Airbnb story to start us off to Joey and Scott on how they how this Airbnb came to be such a debacle. And if I remember, Joey was there first, and then Scott, you pulled up, and y'all were both in the parking lot. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, but that was. How many hours do you figure we were there before Damian came?
I don't think I made it until the next day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were there for quite a while because the problem was what we had to do was passed along from one person to the next person because you were in the air. So I didn't know exactly how we were getting into the house. We had the address, but that was about it. So when I was the first one at the house, and when I got there was no answer at the door. So it was pouring rain, and we were getting no reply whatsoever. And the condition of the area around the house did not look like anybody had been there in months. So I knew there was a problem. Maybe it was the wrong address. And trying to notify anybody, no one was answering their phones at the time because everyone was traveling. So I got in the car and went to eat and then came back and waited to call Scotty. And at one point, we'll try to put this together because I'm trying to remember everything that happened that night. At one point, you had contacted somebody and they said, "Oh, we're here. We're just getting it ready." And then somebody had gone into the house and they looked through the drapes out at me in the car, and then they shut them up really quickly.
That's the story I remember. Like
there was problems.
Peeking through the blinds or something. That was kind of a.
And they weren't even there in the beginning.
It was a shithole. It doesn't matter what happened. It was a shithole.
Yeah.
Eventually got in the house, and there's a fridge sitting right in the middle of the kitchen. Not in a nook or up against a wall. It's just sitting right in the middle of the kitchen, and curtains were hammered in to the wall.
That's what she was doing. She was hammering in curtains when she was peeking out the window. It was such a slow process in finding out that we weren't ever going to stay there anyways. Because
so where did you end up staying? You just found a residence inn or something nearby that very first night, and then it was.
Well, being the U.S. Open week, there was nowhere else to stay. So Scotty found something that was ridiculously expensive for one night. And I stayed with you. Did anyone else? Scotty, do I still owe you half of that night, by the way?
The room, we stayed in some kind of a Marriott, like 20 miles away.
Yeah. There was a third supposed to stay with us. Was that Brian supposed to come?
I don't know.
Well, it was going to be the four of us, remember? The four of us.
Yeah, but you weren't going to be there that first night. And we had to get a room that was super expensive for one night.
I think I got rain delayed is what happened, and they canceled my flight. Yeah. And then the guy, it was a total scam. They canceled right away. He was like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to keep the service fees. They were trying to scam people out of $200 service fees or something like that. So to make a long story short, we end up right in Bethpage at a 2-bedroom suite for the 4 of us. So we had to make do with the couch and an airbed. Luckily, Banjo was able to travel with air mattress. So we made that work. That was good. And then moving on to how we met the fans, we popped in the very first night to find some beers and dinner in Farmingdale, which is literally walking distance to Bethpage Black. So what turned into like, you know, the ultimate like scam and, you know, negative start to the week is slowly turning into one of the best weeks we had all of 2019. Right there at a major championship in Bethpage, because if I remember right, we got one hell of a deal. Everybody had their own room just about. There was room for Joey's bookmaking, and then we found this unbelievable place we like to call the Dark Horse. That sound right?
Yeah, cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to the Dark Horse. So for all our fans, or not fans, but our listeners, the Dark Horse was the pub right there that I think every golfer, after getting their butt kicked at Bethpage, pops in, has a couple of beers right on the corner. And that's where we met these 4. And 5, because Ty was a fly-in guest. I keep forgetting. He was a fly-in guest from South Carolina. But so it's cool to have you guys on, and we're going to kind of get started, get the ball rolling. The reason we decided to have this podcast with the fans and you guys is because pretty much every night, you know, for at least one beer, whether we had dinner or not, we popped into the Dark Horse and had a beer with you guys. And then we'd kind of move on before, you know, hitting bed and prepping for the next day, which is kind of a common theme. Like it's a happy hour for us caddies. Most of the time we like to have 1 or 2 before dinner, and then, or maybe a late nighter before we hit the wrapper. But having you guys there and somebody local to get all the good information from was fun. And then it just turned into almost a daily thing where we'd pop in and hang out for a few. So having you guys on, the reason we wanted to do that was because starting up here shortly, we're looking at maybe 2 weeks away now. The PGA Tour is planning on coming back, and golf is back. You've seen the commercials over the last 2 weekends where we've had live golf on TV. But we know that they're not going to have fans, and so we wanted to get your take. Not to mention, here's some of the stories you have to tell about the events that y'all have gone to watch, and some of the cool things that maybe you've seen, or, you know, stuff that sticks out in your minds. So let's get started there. But first, let's have a toast. Here's to seeing you guys again. It's been over a year. And, you know, you guys haven't changed a bit. You look exactly as I remember. So cheers to you guys. Thanks for coming on. Let me think. Let's start with the Dark Horse. That was our watering hole that week. You guys kind of give us the background story. James, you seem like the you know, the veteran of this group, you know. So how did y'all choose that place that week, or is this a place you go to on the reg?
Yeah, on the reg. It's originally, the Dark Horse actually started in Cortland, New York, at SUNY Cortland in college. And we know at the club that I'm a pro at, one of the members, he owns a few bars, and he always tells us Dark Horse because one of his buddies owns that place. And it's like super quaint. It's not like super busy. We like pretty much go during the week, you know, after a round of golf somewhere. But like as you guys, we met you. But I had a friend in from Florida that week to come see the PGA, and Nico had his friend Tyler in from South Carolina. So it was a shitty night. It was raining all day, and I was volunteering as the PGA pro, helping out the range and all the stuff that, you know, you guys needed in the tournament. And then we went there one night just because it's like around the corner from our homes, and we bumped into you guys. And you asked us who was going to win. And my one buddy's a Tiger lover, and we all said Tiger, of course, because he just came off the Masters. And then the rest is kind of history. And believe it or not, Brooks Koepka apparently, we found out, ended his championship when he won. He ended there. That's where he had his last drink when he left Bethpage. Was at Dark Horse. They had a
Really? The dark horse, huh?
You know how they had that like private room off to the right that we like kind of
Really?
he rented out that whole room for all his buddies.
I think we got in there. We got in there on Saturday night. I think that little private room that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you had to take that room to the bathroom when it was really busy. You could avoid everyone by going into that back private.
Yeah,
room.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cool story. He ended up there with the trophy.
Yeah, so it made its way around. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
So, but
cool.
we've been busy. We've been up here. We played. Us pros being unemployed, we've been able to. I played the Black 5 times this month already.
Wow.
So it's in
Like skins.
No, not a skins. Just like a bunch of friends. We just go out. It's been crazy getting the tee time because you can only book 1 tee time per person per month. So we kind of rotated through the foursome. We even like made Joey one just so that we could book a tee time.
Well, yeah.
And you have to sit at the computer at 7 o'clock. If you don't sit at the computer at 7 o'clock, if you sit at 7:01, you will miss every tee time. There'll be not 1 tee time.
So that's pretty interesting. Like where people used to be sleeping in their cars in the parking lot, now you're sitting on your desktop waiting.
So what did they used to have to do?
So it's like it's back in the day what you used to do is there's 6 spots that are like in the back of the parking lot. You guys wouldn't even notice them because they're not even near like any of the courses. And it's got a board and you literally would just park out in the middle of the night and just wait until the morning of like 5 o'clock and you get like a raffle ticket and and it would secure your walk-up foursome. And it's crazy. What ended up happening when we were graduating high school in 2009, our senior cut day, the U.S. Open was there. It was at Bethpage in 2009. And, it was like June 1st, we tried to, sleep. We left class at 3 o'clock. The parking lot had 30 spots full. There wasn't even a shot of us getting a tee time. Because people were from like Texas and Maryland and like all over the place just trying to get last week. It's crazy. And, so we ended up having to play a Muni that day just because we didn't know where to play.
No.
But, typically you can go in the summer and just walk up and grab an afternoon time if you show up like at, 9 o'clock in the morning. But, ever since all of the PGAs and the Barclays and the Northern Trusts, it's been so difficult to get a tee time. So, yeah, you have to sleep in the parking lot.
Wow.
I was going to ask that because Bethpage has kind of become a regular stop for not an annual event. We've had a couple of playoff events there. We've had 2 US Opens. We've had a PGA. So you guys as golf fans, obviously a lot of you are in the business. You obviously all play. But when a tournament shows up at Bethpage, is that pretty exciting for you guys being in the area? Is that something you want to do, go out and watch? And because you guys play that course a lot and have grown up playing that course, so you know the ins and outs. Is it cool to go out there and see the pros get their face boxed in by a brutal golf course?
It's cool because they have had different setups for different events. Meaning like 2002 was the first U.S. Open that was ever held there. It's a totally different golf course since 2002.
Yeah.
Green sizes, bunker depths, extra tees added, fescue added. It's incredibly different. Like, I can remember holes in the early 2000s that you don't even remember. And you think about all the, even the rounds of the PGA, they move up the tees on like certain holes, like 8, the par 3, the downhill par 3. You could put that pin in the front and have a wedge and have them suck it back into the water, or you can make it 220 yards and put the pin in the back right where you can't get to it. So it's got a lot of different features to it. But yeah, it's awesome.
I see Lorenzo's joined us. What's up there, Lo? Good to see you, bro.
Oh, nice to see you.
Lorenzo.
Birthday, huh?
Yeah. It's been a long time. You missed the best part that we had all the history lesson and all that stuff of meeting, but we're glad you're here. So since we got you on the line, let me ask you this. how many different tournament venues have you gone to, just in life, besides, the Bethpage, of course, which is in your backyard, but any of the other ones? Oh, I'm
Well,
sure you've gone to all the U.S. Opens right there on Long Island, huh?
yeah. So my father took me to the first U.S. Open in '02. I was, 4 or 5, maybe 6. So it was '02. Obviously, I went to '09. Shinnecock,
Yeah.
Shinnecock in '04. Of course, '18. And then, we had Glen Oaks. Was it 2017 we had the Northern Trust there?
Yeah.
And then was it last year's Northern Trust at Liberty National? So I've been to a
Liberty
couple other
National,
venues, not too many, but
Wait, Lorenzo, tell the story about your Francesco Molinari story. It's the best. I love it.
so
All right, my next question was going to be, let's see what you have that sticks out the most from any of these ones. So it sounds like you have a pretty good story already. If Nico's on you, he knows it.
Francesco.
Francesco, yeah. So I think it was the Tuesday practice round at Shinnecock in 2018.
Not to cut you off though, give him a little background. Like, what do you do?
Molinari.
So right, so I'm I speak fluent Italian, so actually I'm going to get my degree also in Italian education. So my father's Italian, lived in Italy, I speak Italian. There's the background. So I see Francesco on that Tuesday. You're all excited. I start talking Italian to him. He's kind of looking over at me like, who's this guy talking to me? Kind of hears a couple things that, I know the language. So he seems pretty interested. Just comes over and, shakes my hand, a little dialogue. He's like, you want a picture? I'm like, I love a picture. You're my idol. So take a picture and, wish him luck. Off he goes for the practice round. I walked 9 holes with him. That's it. It was the Monday of the 19 PGA. And it was, not a good day, bad weather. And not many guys are out on the range. And I see Francesco sitting there in bunker shots. Of course, I run up to him. And, I say something in Italian. Hey, forte Kiko. It's his nickname, Kiko, for Francesco. Turns around and looks at me, kind of acknowledges me a little bit and just looking at me and back. I'm like, did I say something wrong? I said, I don't think so. I speak fluent Italian. So I don't know. So he's walking over from the bunker over to the first tee, over to the putting green. So I'm start to follow him. He keeps looking over at me and points to me and starts waving. So I start waving back. So we get to the point where in between the driving range and the putting green, there's either you can go over the crosswalk, the player walk, or you can actually come out where the patrons are and then go into the main putting green on the front side of the clubhouse.
Okay.
So of course he comes around and I'm waiting there and we have this little exchange in Italian. He's like, basically, hey, he's like, you were at Shinnecock, right, last year? I said, yeah. He's like, you were talking Italian to me, right? I said, yeah, that was me. Like, I remember we took a picture. He's like, do you want to take another one? I said, of course. So then, we took a picture, of course, watched him putt for a little bit and he went on his way. And, that story will probably stick with me forever.
It's pretty wild that he remembered you 2 years later.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Double
what major.
picture.
He's got that effect on people.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
What did y'all talk about, though? That's the burning question.
It was just like little things, just talking about his putting stroke.
Okay.
Just talking about,
You
congratulating
didn't give him a lesson, did you?
What? You told him he had a bad putting stroke?
No, we're just talking. I'm talking about his win at the 2018 BMW PGA, which I think happened was like 2 or 3 weeks before the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that comeback at Wentworth. So it's pretty cool.
What about the rest of you guys? Does anybody else have a story that's similar like that, where you've been up close with one of either your idols or just a random pro? Or
No. One of the best stories ever that I've ever experienced was last year. I was working like one of the rainy days, and John Daly was in the back patio of Bethpage. You know how they had it like all fenced off, like where you couldn't see the patrons? like you could sit and have a drink and like nobody would bother you. It was all blocked off. So I had to walk from the first putting green, which is in the front of the clubhouse, to the back putting green because I was like summoned to work over there. And I was walking around in the private area, and Jordan Spieth walks by me and he goes to John Daly and he's like, "Hey, John Daly, what's going on? How's that golf cart treating you?" And then JD just goes, "Fuck you, Spieth." Great. It was just like so random because I didn't expect John Daly to curse him out like that. So then real quick, he was just talking about he was like, when Faldo, he was like, "Oh, it's a tough course." Jordan's like, "Oh, this place is brutal." And Daly's like, "Oh," he's like, "I'll tell you a story." He's like, "Sit down." And so he sits down, and as I'm walking away, he starts talking about how Nick Faldo couldn't reach one of the fairways in 2002. And he was saying like how long it is, and but it was just so funny. It was just like in passing. It was like these two icons at the time,
Real guys.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny. That's kind of like, that's real talk you saw right there. He didn't mean anything by it. He's just giving the guy a jab,
Yeah, it was funny.
You're gonna bust my balls, I'll bust your balls.
It's good.
Yeah.
What about you, Ty? You got anything up there have you been to a lot of events or?
Not really down here. No, the Bethpage is one of the first events up there. Wells Fargo down here, up in Charlotte.
Oh, that's one of my favorite events there is.
And really, the thing that is cool for me about being, going to those like Bethpage, same as in Charlotte, is just having played that course before and then going there. It's just kind of, it's cool being able to compare like, okay, I played 2 tees up and I took this line and kind of comparing that to where all these guys are playing and what lines they take. And just, some of them are mind blowing. Some of, some have to get creative, but the guys with that real power is just that's, I don't know. It's amazing for me to watch.
And you don't really understand the true power. Like you see it on TV, it looks impressive.
Right.
When you're there and you're standing on that tee box, on the other side of the rope, 6 feet away, and you watch them take lash with a driver, it's a whole nother animal, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I mean, yeah, when you watch on TV, you can appreciate like, okay, mechanically that's beautiful, but when you're there, you can actually almost feel it.
Yeah.
How powerful it is. Almost feel it in your chest when you're right there.
So you guys are hoping. So we've obviously got the playoffs coming back up your neck of the woods on the back end of summer. Who knows if we're going to have crowds? Right now they're aiming for July sometime to maybe have limited crowds, but there's a chance we don't have crowds all year, which is going to be interesting for us, because the energy you guys bring when you guys come to tournaments and watch brings a level of energy to us, even caddying and definitely the players. So it's going to be.
Yeah, even from a standpoint of finding golf balls, I'm sure it's going to be difficult.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah,
that's going to be a big one.
It pace of play. I actually played golf today with Sloan, Canadian guy that plays on the tour, and he lives in Houston. And we went and played golf today, and he's like, "Man, do you think pace of play is going to be an issue without fans?" I'm like, "Cuss, yeah, it's going to be an issue."
Yeah.
You've got even if you're playing early one morning and there's not many people out there, there's always marshals and there's always a few people, to help find your ball. There's going to be no one. This is going to be like us playing, and hunting around like a squirrel trying to find a wayward ball. But fans play a big role in golf tournaments, and I'm happy to play without fans. Obviously, it's better than not playing at all. But fans help us find balls. Fans help.
Tour's going to have to cut the rough.
I hope they cut the rough.
Hopefully we have no rough for the first few.
Yeah, but no rough just means the ball bounces further offline. So that's
true.
It will definitely help a little bit, but balls are now going to go into the trees that they would before. But having you guys there, I can't even think how many times a fan has found our ball that we would never have found.
It's going to be weird when commentators are if you're in the final few groups and you're listening to them talk about your man, and you're going to be able to hear what they're saying. It's going to be really uncomfortable, whether he's playing good or he's playing bad. Listening to their comments before your player hits is going to be awkward, because I think it's going to be hard for them to be quiet enough. all the time. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's gonna be so quiet out there.
Are you guys going to be watching on TV when it starts up again? You guys kind of jonesing to watch the tour come back?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to go. I'm
Of
trying to go
course.
to Masters in November.
Oh,
If it even happens, we'll see. That would be pretty sweet, though.
yeah. I'd like to think it's going to happen, but I'm interested to see how it looks.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
No flowers.
No
But
flag.
maybe they're going to bring him in. They, Augusta, they can pull off anything.
Yeah,
It might look
they
like
could.
it might look like a beautiful spring day in November in Augusta with their pool.
Yeah, it's true.
The course, I mean, I don't know if it could play any quicker, but usually, the courses up here during the fall will get really quick. Greens will get really quick, fairways will get really quick.
Yeah.
But you're playing a different game. So, I guess those pros are going to have to get used to different yardages and different things of that nature down there.
Yeah, it's and it's also, I mean, obviously, playing Masters in April, it can get chilly. You have warm days there where you're sweating, but it can get cold there. It's probably going to be no warm days in November. It's going to be cold every day.
November is obviously colder than April. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
say, Aaron? Yeah.
Yeah, so guys are going to be wearing sweaters. Maybe the course runs a little more. I don't know how much they can control that, but it's definitely going to be colder.
Yeah, maybe they should have like an orange jacket for the fall instead of a green jacket.
Or like an orange.
The autumn special,
Is that a hunter's jacket?
a hunter's jacket.
A limited edition Masters logo, like it's
Yeah.
orange instead of yellow.
I mean, I bet you a lot of people will buy that. Hands
Hunter orange. Oh, I would love to see that. A camouflage blazer with a Hunter orange logo. I would buy that.
Cool.
I know Ty would, being from South
It'd
Carolina.
just be so fitting for mid Georgia. I mean, it'd be perfect for the region. It would sell
Yeah.
out.
They would sell that for sure.
Or with a matching like bush
Low,
can.
low, low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to revisit something really quick because we weren't all at Dark Horse when James met you guys, and I'll never forget the text. I looked at my phone. I forgot what I was doing, but I remember I looked down at my phone. He's like, "Come to Dark Horse. We're with Duffner's caddy and a bunch of other caddies." And I was like, "What is he talking about?" I like literally was wearing gym shorts and like a t-shirt and like flip flops. Got into my car and like sped to the Dark
That's
Horse.
awesome.
I was like, "This."
I was
Joey got into an accident the second night.
I was at a buddy's house like 30 minutes away, and I get a text come through, and I come flying through at like 11:30 at night.
Oh man, 11:30
like
at night. It
Christmas
was that late.
Yeah, the first night, D'Lo, you're going crazy with the questions asking. You were like, what's, who are you gonna win? Can I videotape this? And we're like, yeah. And you were like talking to everybody at the bar. There was like 5 people there, and you were just all over everybody.
Yeah.
That's just how I roll. I guess that's how you become a host.
I think your picture's on the wall there now.
Well, how
It
about a
might
couple
be.
of-
It wouldn't be the first time that I got my picture up on the wall.
Yeah.
I remember a couple days later, we were at the bar across the way, and remember we walked out. We're like, "Oh, what's the odds they're in there?"
No, you did. The second
Me.
day, we
Yeah.
were eating dinner across the street at the Library Cafe, and Lorenzo and Joe
That was nice too.
were coming. Yeah, they were coming, and they were like, Joe got into an accident because and then Lorenzo was like, "Oh, I'm gonna look my head in and see if you guys are there." And Lorenzo comes into the library. He's like, "You're not gonna believe who's next door." I'm like, "Oh,
We're creatures of habit. When we go to a town and we go to a lot of the same cities over and over and over again, so you kind of dial it in. We don't really know. We've been to Bethpage, a handful of times for this, that, and the other, but we don't really know. And we latched onto the Dark Horse. Their wings were amazing.
Yeah.
that whole street's amazing."
It's
Yeah, we ended
fantastic.
up across the street a couple times at that one place that was pretty nice. It kind of had tall, like an old bank or something.
Yeah, it's the Library Cafe. It's
Oh yeah,
old.
the library. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, the upstairs.
yeah.
That's where
that
we're
place
eating.
was cool. But it was so convenient for us. It was a $5 Uber ride. And like you said, creatures of habit just make it easy. You know what I mean? So we're like, oh man.
What,
Let's go back and start there and figure it out, you know?
Yeah.
where's the playoff event?
I was trying to
Your
find.
neck? No, we got the US Open coming up. The US Open's at Wingfoot.
Wingfoot, and then you have the one at Norton, Mass. What is that one? The TPC Boston, I think, is happening.
Oh, we're going all the way up to Norton.
But
Yeah.
Ooh.
next year, 2021, I think.
You guys
Go
will be
to Wingfoot again?
Wingfoot this year.
Wingfoot this year.
Yeah, that's scheduled
awesome.
for this year if that goes down.
Yeah, they've done so much work to that place too. It's another course that's been touched up on so many times.
So they've redone some greens?
Oh yeah,
Oh boy. I'm
that
gonna have
place
to
is always under construction. It's every time I played there twice, and both times I played there, I played east and west once each. But the course, the greens are like the bunkers look like just big 10-foot waves. Like you can't see where you're hitting out of anything, and everything is so elevated. And I don't hit it far, so if you're playing like the back tees, you're hitting like a 3-wood into an elevated green. It's ridiculous.
And when they're nice and firm, there's just no way to stop
Yeah,
it.
you just hope it hits the lip of the bunker and
Yeah.
it pops up 10 feet and it lands.
And if you're long, it probably runs away to the front.
Yeah, and
So
the
you're
rough.
just going long, chipping back, and hopefully chipping on that. Hopefully you chip it close to the second chip.
Yeah, no, Tillinghouse has got his hands full in this area with the great tests of golf.
There's a lot of major championship courses in that whole New York area. What are your opinions on which is the best venue out of them all? Well, there's got to be, 5, 6, or 7 different venues they've played different majors.
The best venue to like hold fans or like playability, like there's
Playability.
playability, man. It depends on your style of golf.
Good question. Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I know the players don't.
What do you think, Lorenzo? Which course is the best?
Which one would Francesco like the best?
Yeah, which one is Francesco's?
Francesco.
Like, give me one at British Open, I'd say he'd like Shinny pretty well. But, Bethpage too it's tough. It's tough. I mean, you have courses like, Wingfoot and Bethpage that are, like fairways, thick, nasty, rough. You have a couple other courses, like Shinnecock, even Sajtinac held the women's U.S. Open. A little bit more flatter, a little bit more open. I think Bethpage is a more suitable U.S. Open style course, given the fact that, U.S. Opens are supposed to be tight fairways, fast greens, thick rough. So for a U.S. Open, I'd probably say, Bethpage. Yeah, but
I just like
Joey, what do you think? You got an idea? Let's just go to fan ability then, because you guys, you're not playing them. James, you get to play because you're a pro, but going and watching these players, what do you think? Which venue do you like the best?
I'm gonna have to go with Bethpage. I don't know. I really like how the fan setup. It's like nice and tight, especially around like 17 and was it 16? Like nice in there when they had the hole-in-one and chip in right for eagle. Their birdie, that place erupted. You really felt the ground shaking. It was sick.
That's the fun part for us. When the fans erupt up in Connecticut, hole number 18 is a true stadium hole, and you do something there to set the fans off. I mean, you set the fans off.
The last few holes are the best.
Yeah,
but 18 especially.
So that kind of tees up my next question. I'll let you guys go around the horn. Like you said, you see all this excitement when you got the crowds around and you're in the crowds and you see a group or a player. Let's say you see a group of fans heckling a player, right? And maybe you've seen it from the start, or maybe these fans have come up on you. What's your take on these fans heckling players? Is it something that kind of makes you cringe a little bit, or do you sometimes jump on their backs and
probably
get
from Boston?
From Boston.
I will tell you, that last day at the PGA Championship, we were there on like the back nine where Brooks started bogeying holes after hole. I think 4 in a row he bogeyed, and they came across the street. We were standing at 15, and that's where he had to like make a turnaround kind of thing. And everybody was chanting DJ or Dustin Johnson because he was like right there and was like the closest thing. But what I noticed with like New York fans the most, especially with like the big time New York teams, is like as soon as you do something like bad or negative or you start falling off, it's hard to like please everybody, and then everybody kind of just wants to see like a really good showing, you know what I mean? Like, so like there's a lot of fans that I feel like aren't as true, you know, they won't stick with the same person throughout the whole thing. They want to see like it was almost like a bloodbath for Brooks when he crossed the road. People were like yelling at him, and he hit a wayward tee shot on number 13, which was that long par 5, and I was standing right there where they were actually like pushing like fans out of the way because nobody was listening to any of the marshals, and people were just yelling like vulgar things. I don't want to repeat anything was being yelled, but
Wow.
Repeat.
Yeah.
Repeat.
I don't know exactly what they're saying, but they were using a lot of choice language.
They were speaking Italian. I don't know.
You're speaking Italian.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that when the Ryder Cup comes back up this way, I feel bad for Team Europe when they have to come play Bethpage.
They're already worried about that.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad.
That's going to be
You guys
sick.
are a unique set of golf fans, and it's probably par for the course. You know, watching football or basketball or hockey, it's kind of expected. But I remember that U.S. Open at Bethpage in 02. No, it was 02. It was 09 was the next one there, right? 9?
Yeah.
Yep.
And there was, I think it was Johan Edfors, the Swedish guy, and he kind of burst onto the scene out of nowhere for a few years, top 50 in the world, and he was playing good that U.S. Open. And come the weekend, he was up there, and come the weekend, he was struggling, and he's got this 8-foot par putt on 17 on Saturday, and he's just leaking oil, and he had like long brown hair, like past his shoulders, brown beard. And he left this putt short for par, and this guy in the bleachers, and you don't get this anywhere in the world except New York. And he shouted out, "Looks like Jesus, putts like Mary." And, this guy's on route to shoot 82, and I was like, wow, that is just mean.
Oh, you had a seat. So going back to Nico's story, when we were on 15 and the last day, Harold Varner was going through that whole situation with leaking oil. And he gets on 15 and he freaking snap hooks it left. And Brooks is like on the right side of the rough. So Brooks had like his own spot over there. And we're all like around Harold Varner's ball. And it's like just a madhouse. And the marshals are trying to like push us back. And Nico at the time, one of the marshals was my member at our golf club. And we were yelling his name, and he was like looking around. We were like Norris, and he looked around, and he couldn't see any of us, and we kept doing like Newman, and Nico was asking the marshal what type of ball that Varner was playing before he got there. He's like, "Is it a red Pro V or a black Pro V?" And
no, for consumer resources.
Yeah, he was yelling at us.
No, red or black.
Yeah, and he
turned around and told us that it was like red. He's like, "It's red."
Yeah, the guy was freaking out, and he's screaming out like he's red or black, and we're yelling out Norris, and it was just a mess. And poor Varner has to get up here in the middle of this, and he ends up like slicing a sandwich, like in the right bunker. It was crazy. Like it was such a bad shot.
The rough was so thick. It was like she turned her whole club face, and he like sliced it.
He sliced it like a backwards of some sort. It was crazy.
But you know what? That's kind of the cool part of it. And like going back to why it's so important to have fans there is because, Harold Varner there in the final grouping, final pairing, and he ends up shooting like an 80-something. It humanizes these guys, it in a way that was kind of cool. And he was cool about it. He was like, even under all that pressure, he just kind of laughed it off. I was like, it's not the day.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Even like before, when you were saying like the lines tie, like what lines they're taking. The last 4 times I played with James the Black, maybe this month, and every time we get up on like a long hole, I'm like, I'm about to take the Koepka line because like on number 1 there's like a plum tree on the corner.
Yeah.
if you're a good golfer, your ball is going to end up right at the corner, and that's about like a 290 carry, right around 290, like whatever. But those guys were aiming about like 3 trees over to the right and carrying everything. And every time I stand on that tee box and look at that line, I'm like, there's absolutely no way to even come close to that. And then people that try to hit it slice it like into the next golf course, which is the green course on the right.
Green.
Like, there's no way to take the line they were taking was like 330 yards in the air. It didn't even make sense. You know, like they had 65 yards to the green after their drive on the first hole. You know, like unbelievable.
Bubba Watson aims 60 yards right of the fairway and hits his drive right in the green side bunker. I mean, the lines he's taking is, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've been literally going to the back patio there and spending like 3 or 4 hours just putting on the golf.
It's the best.
We'll set up a speaker and bring some drinks, and we'll go and just putt for like 3 hours and reminisce about all these times. And then every like 10 minutes, we'll watch 4 golfers that don't pay attention to that warning sign, and they hit the drive. It goes about 8 feet in front of them, or
practice ball off the first.
Practice balls. People wearing like knickers that show up with like checkers, and you expect them to hit the ball okay, and then they hit the ball about 50 yards left of left, and it's just terrible. It's the funniest thing to watch now because people have nothing else to do but play golf right now.
That could be some good content.
Yeah. I saw a guy yesterday, my girlfriend and I went up to putt. He hit the ball on the first tee in the fairway bunker on the right side of 18.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that's how far left. He hit it left of like those little bunch of trees off the tee to the left that like you don't even come and play. And the guy ended up like walking to the middle of the fairway, and he just ended up walking back across the one fairway. He's like, forget it.
Oh, sounds like me.
Yeah, it was so freaking funny.
You get to see like how intimidating it is for a lot of the people that you know what I mean. Like they're used to playing munis where the white tees are like 6,000 yards. The white tees and the black are closer to 7,000 yards, and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. For that.
The white tees.
What's the? I should know the answer to this, but what is Bethpage Black off the tips?
74 and change.
Yeah.
74.
It's the longest 74 and change you're going to play. I thought it was longer than that, but
it could play more.
There are some tee boxes where you turn around.
Plays so long though.
Well, what they do is with the rough.
I've never seen anybody get off those tees before. Like there's on number 7, you turn around and there's a tee box in the back corner that's like hidden. You're like, who even plays from that tee box?
Yeah, we call it. You know how like you call like a golf course and say, "Oh, like I'm playing the tips." We call it the posts.
Yeah, we call it.
Bethpage has all those posts with like the whole number.
yeah.
If you break 80 from the posts, man, that's an awesome
Yeah,
score.
because there's a run of like 5 holes that line up like 500-yard par 4s. Like number 10 is like a 510-yard par 4.
11's not bad. 12's.
Watch Brooks Koepka go driver pitching wedge to 3 feet kicking birdie on the last day.
Kicking birdie.
You're like, I don't even understand how you hit it that far.
What's the least amount of club you've hit into that green in all the times you played
I
Bethpage?
hit 9-iron into it the other day, but we were
9-iron, but he played from the front of the front box. Yeah,
But-
Wait, is that the 65-year-old and over box?
yeah. Yeah, we've been playing the white tees,
We played the white tees because it was wet, but on hole number 12, I don't know if you remember that hard dog leg to the left that you have to hit over the tree line if you want like a shorty. I had 77 yards left in that hole the other day.
I had 120.
It was pretty much a bomb.
30 miles an hour on your back.
Yeah, we had 30-mile-an-hour winds downhill.
And that was with a 4-iron.
He doesn't hit his driver. He hits
No,
I got the best driver on the market.
We have a lot of good times there.
Yeah.
Well, what makes it so difficult is what they have is they obviously no carts are allowed on the black course. You have to walk,
Except for John Daly.
except for John Daly. But you see these tie
Rough
tracks.
week.
Like, well, what are they doing? Tie tracks are rough. Is they have a sweeper that goes through. I don't know how often they do it, but they have a sweeper that goes through. And instead of the grass laying in either direction, it stands straight up.
Oh,
so
yeah.
they pull the grass up. So when your ball lands in there, I mean, it's sitting down 6-7 inches. Well, maybe that's a little exaggerated, but 4 or 5 inches. And you take I can get a 5-wood out of this. I can get a hybrid out of this, and
No
boom,
chance.
it either goes 60 yards left or it goes 20 yards forward. So that's really it's it's the fence, is that rough.
Do you get a little quiet enjoyment out of that when you see a golf pro that shows up at these big events and they're like, and they pull out a club and it doesn't have a ton of loft on it. They might have pulled out the 4-iron or 5-iron or maybe a hybrid, and you're sitting there and it's like, I've had this shot and I know I play off 4 or 5, and I know you're a tour pro, but my friend.
Licking your chops. So when Brooks hit his tee shot way left on 13, if I were to put a blanket out on 13, like hit 10 balls, I'd tell you maybe 8 of them would end up on that left side in all those trees. I can tell you in all the times I've played that course, I've never advanced the ball like he did from that left side.
Yeah, Brooks is a whole nother animal though. Brooks, his speed is insane, but you're out there, you're not obviously just watching Brooks, but you just see a guy that's on tour or a guy that's not even on tour but got into the US Open or into the PGA Championship somehow, and you see like, oh, my friend, don't even think about that. Do you guys kind of like get a little enjoyment out of that?
Oh, it's the best to watch that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good.
Joe just played the black for the first time this year. In all of his years of like being a resident of Farmingdale, he just went out in the black. He listened.
He used to pay attention to the sign very well.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
So you have one round in?
Technically 2. I had a crappy day in November last year, but
So
I've had
what's
two confident rounds.
What's your average right now? What were your 2 scores? Did you break 100? Did you break 90?
Let's say 101.
And the second time?
You played good the other day. You probably broke 100. 98.
Yeah, for the second time, it was probably like 96, 98.
Yes.
Okay. So you're working on the average. You should keep that once you get 10 rounds in as your Bethpage, as your black handicap, and just see what it is. See how it progresses. Because you're obviously a young guy. You're going to get to play it, for the next 50 years. I don't see you moving anywhere. You moving anywhere?
I have no intention on it. No.
Yeah, you'll be able to.
Hopefully not.
You'll be an old codger playing that course. That's kind of cool. You guys get to have that as like an option to go play. I live in West Texas, and all our courses are dirt.
Yeah.
Well, what's
7
pretty cool
days in
about
Utopia is what you're dreaming of out here.
That's what we keep saying every time we're hanging out there putting. Like, we're putting. It's in our backyard pretty much, and it's the black.
Yeah.
So the Black's the home of the New York State Open every year, and you want to go out. You see these local club pros, go out there, and they play pretty well considering they're club pros, but it's tough. But it's
How
nice.
How is the setup compared to like the U.S. Open?
It's pretty close, to be honest.
Is it?
It's
Similar.
One factor that we don't have. Well, excuse me, that we don't usually deal with, that you guys don't deal with, is the weather. We play like mid-July, so it's like 100 degrees.
Man,
Walking that course like 4 days in a row is a lot.
Tough. I've caddied for a couple of years. Pretty tough in July when it's about 100 degrees. You got humidity. What? 60.
Humidity is killer.
Yeah.
The air is thick. The ball doesn't fly the same.
What about, does anybody remember any stories from these times you guys were watching these U.S. Opens and majors? And did you ever see like a player in Caddie get into a fight or an argument, or it appeared that they were, like having some issues with each other? Can you think of anything like that where you might have caught some, besides the fuck you, Spieth? That's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a good one.
I like that. That's close.
Not really. I don't know. Like, I worked the range, and you could see a lot of players were frustrated with their caddies too, because I feel like at Bethpage, a lot of people changed their bag setup for different clubs. Kind of like the British Open, they changed a lot of their wedges with the bounces. But I feel like at Bethpage they had a lot of hybrids and like higher lofted fairway woods because you have to hit it so high. And you could see a lot of players like arguing with their caddies and saying like, you know, like, why don't you hit this club here on this hole? And they're like, nah, I don't like the way that it would come in. So, you know, I think more or less, I think it's just like an argument in what the vision that they see, the way that maybe their players should play the hole. You know, as caddies for you, I'm sure there's times where you're like, you know, you really should hit this. I know you hit this way better than that. What do you guys feel as professional caddies?
Well, for us, you know, when you say you notice that they might have an extra fairway wood or hybrid or something like that, it's all because we're trying to figure out what's going to come out of that rough the best. You know what I mean? What's going to advance it, because we don't want to look like Lorenzo hitting it 20 feet left. Or we don't want to just advance, you know, top it into the fringe, you know. And sometimes those clubs come out a little better, you know what I'm saying?
The beauty of the black.
The other thing that I was going to say is, and I noticed is, I feel like a lot of the pros and caddies like overread putts at the black. Like everything's a lot straighter, and like when we're out there, we'll beat ourselves up because we're like, why did we play an extra half cup of break where we know everything is like inside the hole? You know what I mean? Like, and then after the fact, we'll take the same putt and it's like a simple straight putt. You know, like there's very little undulation on those greens except for like hole 15, 11, and 12. Everything else is pretty much just like straight in the cup. You know what I mean? Like,
So, you know, I remember you telling me that, Nico, like Tuesday night.
Because that's unusual.
And I was like, you know what? That sounds like some pretty solid advice right there. This is a guy that knows the golf course. And we had a rough Thursday, I remember. Friday we played pretty good, and we might have even broken par, but we still missed the cut. But I think we were a couple under at one point, 1 under, and maybe with a chance to make the cut. And Duff called me in for a read on 14, and it was a big putt to save par. And it's like, man, is this outside the hole? I'm like, no, this is not outside the hole. My boy Nico said that, you know, these putts are flat, man. You got to keep this inside the hole, and this thing snapped way left, and we missed the cut. I made that up. I'm kidding. But I did take that advice.
it's not that undulating a hole. It's just got a big green. They added that false back to it too for the last couple of events.
Yeah, you're so fucked. When you go off the back of that green, I went off the back the other day, and then you're like thinking to yourself, you're like, I just putt it? But then you're like, it's a lot of fringe to putt through.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I don't have that shot that like I can nip it and spin it on a downhill lie. So it's like, you got to get that hybrid, I guess, out, D-Lo. How does it come out of the fringe?
The hybrid goes through the rough. What are you guys all looking forward to the most? Just you know, I know fans aren't going to be able to go and watch live golf for, you know, the middle of the summer, and who knows what's going to happen moving forward. But just like the on TV stuff or whatever, just live golf in general, what are you looking forward to seeing the most? Just these guys battling it out, or you know, what's in your brains? Let's hear from Joey. He's down there quiet. He's all jacked up. He's got 2 rounds under his belt. See him over there. What do you got for us, Joey?
Hold on.
What are you looking
Hold
forward
on.
to the most?
3 rounds.
For the record, no, it was 2 rounds, but that was a 4-iron off the tee every time because I couldn't hit driver.
That's pretty good.
It was broke.
Thank you.
You and Tom Brady are driverless?
Yeah, me and Tom Brady are flaring it way right.
So go ahead. What do you think, Joey?
I mean, I really want to see the Masters this year. If that can be played in the fall, if Augusta doesn't burn up, that'd be really nice to watch. Even if like we don't get to go, or even just to see that place, how it would look in the fall to be played.
That's the burning question for you, the Masters. That's cool. I dig it the most.
I'd love to see like how they pull it off, if they do, how it looks in the fall. Like I hear that place burns out in the middle of summer. So what could they really do? Can they really have it?
Yeah, and I
They
heard
do have some technology at Augusta that a lot of courses don't have with the sub-air. And so maybe they can keep it green.
But it's not even usually open in the summer, is it?
No.
No.
yeah.
It's usually open for a short stint. right after the Masters, and they close it up and they burn it literally, because it's in that crossover zone where it could be Bermuda bent, and then they literally replant it every year. It's pretty insane.
So I wonder, in the November, does it go back to the way it is in spring, or will it be all Bermuda style?
It would technically be all Bermuda because of those summers, but they burn it. They
Bermuda Masters. That'd be kind of fun. That'd be different.
Well, Pinehurst has done that, right? Pinehurst switched all their stuff.
Oh, yeah. Pinehurst is kind of Bermuda style now.
Yeah, it was always bent grass greens. Now they're Bermuda greens.
It kind of sucked, Ty, that we didn't get to go to North Carolina because, like I said, that's one of the top. That's a favorite for a lot of players and caddies. But what are you looking forward to? Just getting it going here in 2 months. 2 weeks. If we can get it going over there in Fort Worth and get the ball rolling, what are you looking forward to seeing?
That's really what it is. I'm just ready to see golf back on TV. Sports in general, but golf, and really I'm interested too. Without there being any fans, without to be able to draw the same crowd or somewhat of the same crowd, be interested to see what kind of small changes they do, whether it's through the broadcast or trying to get new angles, trying to get kind of more personal with these players to kind of give us fans a sense that, okay, we're not there, we can't be there, but give us a little more personalization. I'm just interested to see kind of what they do.
Kind of like how you guys all watched the deal on Sunday with Tiger.
Right. That's kind of what made me think
of that
about
stuff.
That,
I don't think they'll put a bug in everybody's ear, but maybe there's certain areas on the tee boxes where they come in and have like what do you call that? Where they have the camera set up and you go and talk like a little interview. Maybe I don't know if it'll be that relaxed, or if the competition will stay as intense as it is. Because a lot of times players walk right through and they've got fans yelling in their face or high-fiving, the kids and stuff like that. So that kind of takes the distraction away. Sounds like now we're going to be washing our hands on every tee box. So maybe they'll have us a little video of us washing our hands. I'm looking forward to that. Let's see what happens.
I want to watch Tiger wash his hands.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I like that. That's a good idea. If you had a suggestion to get a fan interaction that way, either through the media, through TV, it's going to be the only way, I guess. What would you like to see? Would you?
I think it would be pretty cool if the caddies were able to use the players' cell phones and post social media stuff during mid-round. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Talking shit via in the middle of social media during the round. How the players were all tweeting at Tiger and Phil in the match and Koepka's I'll put $100 up and JJ Watt and all that. They would be cool if they had more interactions, even if it wasn't from you guys, but
other players.
Other athletes interacting up on TV as they play.
I bet you we're going to see, now that you say that and after hearing that, because I like to watch the Supercross, which is motorcycle racing, and you get a lot of that fan interaction through Twitter. I bet you they're going to put a lot of that, and you're going to see a lot of either different athletes and just different fans in general. You're going to see, hey, the Bethpage boys, that's what we'll call you guys now, the Bethpage boys. Tweet up here, oh, so-and-so's on. Those are, whatever you tweet out there, they might put that up on the screen.
It would be great if you had a video of a Joe, I get him topping the ball off the first tee with your forearm. Put that up there and they show that. That would be great.
Yeah.
Laugh out of it, and then you get to watch Duffner or whoever, Thompson, pipe it down the middle after Joe's tops it.
Right.
That
would be cool. I like the idea. See, and that's why we're here. We're kind of putting it out there in the air to be the innovators of the new normal. We're gonna call it the Bethpage boys and the Caddie United happy hour, just setting the trends for golf moving forward. You know what I'm saying? I love it the most.
Yeah, because if this is sustained, they're talking maybe July, small crowds of some tournaments. But if that doesn't happen and this goes the rest of the year, no crowds, and into next year, they're going to have to do something.
Are they
Because
gonna make you like pay a subscription to watch? like I don't know. Like,
they won't do that, but
revenues, you know.
But, maybe, marking the players and caddies, hearing a little more of what's going on. But they're going to have to be innovative if this goes on for a while.
Phil,
Like,
they really
they
are.
mic coaches in other sports. Why can't they mic you guys? Just you guys,
They've
Mike
tried.
the caddies. That would make sense.
There would need to be a 20-second delay.
Yeah, they've tried.
I'm out.
Because it's not just one little word that might slip in. It could be a sentence or two.
I love that idea. I love that idea of tweeting as you went along. If you were caddying for Duffner, it would be awesome just to sit at home and hear your updates on every shot, every hole, what you're thinking about doing next time, what he should have done, what you should have done. It would be great. That's a great idea,
I
tweeting.
lose his job, but yeah.
Not great for your job. No, yeah.
The right.
I would understand.
The chatter earlier was, what about the pace of play? Because they've sent out guidelines that we're going to have to disinfect the flag sticks and the rakes and stuff like that.
They're really going to do that?
As we go, we're going to have these wipes.
Yeah.
And
They're not going to they should just test all you guys. And if everybody's clean, who else is
They're doing that too.
They're doing that too.
Yeah, they're doing all the proper stuff, but so then the pace of play issue comes in. So if it's already going to take a little bit longer, and there's no fans and stuff like that, it may be, it's going to be interesting to see. But it would be kind of cool to get an update, like, oh snap, Jordan Spieth just told John Daly to fuck off. That would be kind of funny. That would be funny.
Yeah.
Or oh, he hooped it the way Tom Brady just hooped it. It was like that was like the best thing we've seen in 100 days.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, what a fucker that guy is, right?
Right after Barkley was just giving them.
Yeah,
Giving him the business.
Yeah.
first shot made me so happy. So happy.
Yeah, that's so good.
Joey, are you a Boston guy or nah? You gotta be New York Giants, right?
Oh, what if I'm Cowboys? Dallas.
Oh yeah, you're Cowboys. Then you and I are one and the same. It's all love. It's all
I'm with you, of course.
exactly. We've got our own issues over there.
Yeah, are they gonna hire Dak back? What did they do? Did they do it?
Franchise.
They're trying to hire him back, but
They have
told the guys on the last podcast, the Red Rocket, he might be the savior.
Maybe you gotta change it up.
Red Rifle, they call him. They call him something. But that's cool. So let's just kind of keep it moving. We got a few more minutes before we really kind of wrap it on down. What about what do you guys want to know that we didn't tell you the first time when we were drinking crazy heavily at the Dark Horse? You got any questions? Is there one question you're like, man, I should have asked those guys that?
What? Maybe what's it like when have you guys been caddying when you have a lead going into the last maybe 17 or 18 hole? Like what does it feel like as somebody that's like the bystander having to watch your player hit shot after shot to win, to go out there and win a tournament on the last hole or two? Is it are you nervous about that, or how does it go?
I'll let Scott go because he's got a few championships under his belt, and then I'll give you my version. I have 0, but I've been in the hunt a few times. But Scott, did you hear what Nico was asking?
Yeah, it's a weird situation. So for me, you're obviously a little nervous at the start, and they disappear pretty quickly. And for some reason, as the round goes on, you just get a little more. Your focus gets a little more clear when you're under pressure, and when you get to you get down the stretch for the last few holes. And I've never caddied for a player that's won a major, and most of the 17th and 18th holes at tournaments that I've been part of wins haven't been real ball breakers. So it was just like, you just don't vomit on yourself and everything's going to be fine. Just cross your T's and dot your I's. But I can't imagine, standing on the 18th hole at, Bethpage at a US Open. It's like, what do you hit? Do you hit a 5-iron? Do you hit a driver? Do you hit a 4-iron, 3-iron, hybrid? That's a whole other element. And so, it's you can only do so much as a caddy. So you give them the information, you answer the questions they want answered, and you just let it happen. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you're obviously it's intense, but I've never got to the point where it's like, holy shit, I don't know what's going on here. It's like, hey, this is the information. It's just, you go back to doing your routine and you do the same stuff. This is the yardage, this is the wind, and you just go through the absolute basics, and the rest is, out of your control. It's about execution. But none of the few wins that I've been a part of, none of the 18th hole was a ball breaker. So it's like, man, we just have to, you don't even have to hit great shots. Just don't make a 6,
That's fortunate.
So here's a follow-up question to Nico's question. That's a really good question. When there was a 2019, was it Wells Fargo? We were down in Quail Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
What, you and Duffner were 2 or 3 back? Was it of Max Homa? Right, you were playing with him in the final group, right, when he won. So obviously Duffner hasn't won in a couple of years. What sort of responsibility did you feel, not only to be a caddy, but also to be, his motivation, something, keep him positive? Did you feel any sort of extra duty as more than just a caddy?
Absolutely. So in that situation, Duff hadn't won in a couple of years. We obviously had a big chance to win that day. And, standing on 18, we probably weren't going to win. I think we were 2 or 3 back, maybe even 3 or 4. And everyone had spread out a little bit. And we actually ended up doubling 18.
Right, tee-shot on the water.
One of those, and this never happens ever on the PGA Tour. If you're in the last group on Sunday and you're in the top 2 or 3 or 4 and you make double on 18, there's a good chance you finish 15th or 18th. I mean, they're so bunched up. A double on the last of that position is generally a disaster. I think we were in solo. We might have been tied T2 or solo third, and we made a double and we finished 4th. That never happens.
That never happens.
So that kind of softens the blow. You're still pissed off that you made double. But the fact that was the first time in a while that he really was, had a legitimate chance to win. When we left, the double didn't cost us that much. It did cost us, but it didn't cost us brutally. And then, we chatted afterwards a little bit, and, the next week obviously chatted about stuff, and there was nothing but positive. So it was very fortunate. But you make double on the last and you go from 4th, and next minute you're tied 12th, and it cost you $350,000. It's tough to what do you say? It was a lot easier for me to, for us to sit down and talk about the week and talk about that last round and think, hey, this is awesome. We're back, But yeah, I mean, you don't often hit it in the water twice on the 18th hole in 2nd or 3rd place, whatever we were, and make a double. How do you hit it in the water twice and only make a double, and then only go from whatever we were, T2 to, or solo 3rd to 4th? That's doesn't happen. But yeah, it's interesting. But for me, like caddying, obviously you got your job to do on the course. You can't mess up. You don't want to constantly make mistakes. But caddying for me, it's a lot of it is what you do off the golf course after the round. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, practice rounds. Maybe you're traveling with a guy. Maybe you're having dinner. That's a big part of caddying, and how you make your player feel kind of good about things. So, but it's an interesting, when I first started caddying, it was all about just not mess up on the course. And now I've been doing it 20 years, I realized this is all psychology. How do you make a guy that's one of the best in the world always feel like he's best in the world? That's the hard part. And you do all that, not necessarily on the course in the heat of battle. So
that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Hilo, what are some of the best experiences you had on the bag and maybe being on the top, in the final group? How many final groups have you been in your experiences?
I'm not really sure. I think maybe 3, 4, 5, like on Sunday,
Yeah.
just a handful. But there's been a lot of like second to last, third to last group, and that's when you're really in the hunt. And like Scott said, you start off nervous a little bit, excited. It's a nervous energy, but it's because you're excited to get going. You're chomping at the bit. You're one back, or you're tied with the two guys in the last group. You know what I mean? And
when do you know like your player has it? Do you guys ever have that feel? Like when you're like, oh, this guy's got it today. When Nico caddies for me for a tournament, he like can almost feel like that. Oh, okay, he's got it.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. And you learn quick, usually after the first shot or after the first, birdie, par, bogey on the very first hole, what's going to happen. You can bogey the first hole and still know you have it for the 18 because it's all on the player's demeanor. And that's usually when you it doesn't take too many shots to get those butterflies out. And then you just you get into the zone. And then those times where you're like, oh, it's just this weird, quiet calm comes over you. You focus really is more on just like, you don't see anybody. You don't hear anybody but your player. Maybe the playing partner, here and there, and then it just gets kind of weird, and the intensity and the ability to focus. You're like, well, why didn't we have this focus on the very first day? It's kind of just a weird thing in sport because, those guys that start off in the first quarter don't have that same focus as they do in the last quarter, even though it's there. Or, that's why they have the 2-minute drill. You don't have the 2-minute drill the very first day. So it's a freaky little deal the way sport is, and the ability to it's like a Zen place. Like everything lines up, and the next thing you know, you shoot 63 and you got the lead in the clubhouse, and you got to wait for the next 3 or 4 groups to come in. Or you're, second to last group, and you post up the number, and there's one guy behind you that can tie or beat you, and it's out of your hands. Like we were there in New Jersey where the flagpole is, and Byron Nelson was the pro.
Monk?
No, it was Ridgewood.
Ridgewood is one hell of a course. And then that was the last time Hunter Mahan won, and I was with Stuart Appleby, and he got on a run and just got – and a lot of times the players bring you along with them because they get into the zone, and the next thing you know, everything's easy because you just kind of let them do their thing. And as long as you don't trip over your shoelaces, they're
playing good. You don't have to do much.
You don't have to do much. When they
play bad is when you have to start speaking. When they're playing good, let them go. What are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell a guy that's, there's 125 guys that are exempt on the PGA Tour, and there's, 7 billion people on the planet?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just very, very small amount of people that have got to the cream of the cream of the crop. And when they're playing good, I mean, I shoot 80. 80's par for me. So really, when they're playing good, I'm not going to say anything. When they're playing bad, you got to kind of step in, but just let them go. When Stewart shot 59 at Greenbrier to win, you just let them go. This is the yardage. This is the wind. Can I get 7 on there? Of course you can.
It's funny Stewart came up with you and D'Lo, because the thing I remember about when somebody is in the zone was when Stuart Appleby was telling me one time, he's like, I'm just walking up to the tee and I see the birdie I'm going to make on this hole sometimes. Why don't I have that all the time? I don't know. But
And that's if you know the answer to that question,
yeah,
you are going to become a very wealthy person because no one
just
knows.
hit the green, and he saw the putts going in. So he's like, I just need to get this on the green in regulation. And most of these putts are going in right now. So
Yeah,
Stewart was always really good for that.
yeah, it's an interesting job, caddying. You know, every time you think you got it licked, you don't have it licked. You know, you're just dealing with, you know, you're dealing with pressure and the human psyche in different circumstances. There's never one situation that's ever replicated, and that's what golfers try and do, is make everything the same, routine, this, that, the other, to make every day the same. It's never always going to be the same. The better ones manage it a little better and they make it the same a little more than others, but there's no answer to playing golf and getting it in the hole.
Yeah. Ty, you have anything you want to ask?
No, I think you guys answered it.
All right, so then as we wind it down, I'm going to come up with just a few questions, and we're going to call them the hot seat questions for you guys. I'm trying to come up with one more here because there was a fifth guest. So give me just a second. You guys talk amongst each other, have a drink, take a little 2-minute
Take 2-minute break.
here.
2 minutes? I gotta grab another beer.
I already drank my 6-pack.
Jeez.
No, I just
What, you guys asked Joe a question. Banjo over here, who's
Yeah.
now the bookmaker. Ask him about the Greens books. Let me figure out the question while you guys do that.
James has been playing that green book that I think
It's not fair.
and he makes every putt.
who's using it?
James does. We were playing
Okay.
Black the other day, and he pulls out this book, and he's like, "It's plus 0.5 to the right," and I'm like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "It's gonna break right here," and he'll put it there, and he'll be like, "Perfect." I'm like, "What is this?"
That's
Plus-
awesome.
Yeah, Scott sent me that book. I love it.
That's cracking me up.
It's funny because
I'm the only
when I
person
was
going to read it.
when I was caddying, I'm anti too much information. So what people dislike about the book is that they think you're getting too much information and that it's helping more than it should be. That being said, I've kind of done it for a couple of years now, so I've noticed that the information you're getting from a greens book is so directly similar to a yardage in that it's a measurement of gravity. It tells you how much gravity you have between you and the hole, just as a yardage does, but it doesn't mean when you have a yardage of 150, you hit it 150 yards every time. You've got to figure out what it's playing with the conditions you have.
Yep.
Now, the conditions are a little different when you're putting, but all it is in the end is a map of gravity, and you've just got arrows, and the arrows are going in the direction of gravity. If you try to figure out the percentages, you're making it really confusing. It doesn't need to be. You can figure out an average between yourself and the hole to figure out how much break you have, but that doesn't need to be done. You're never going to get a perfect average anyways using the numbers because you're only getting 2 points on a 20-foot putt to guess an average for percentage. So the actual number is never going to be incredibly accurate.
How close does that relate to aim point?
Well, aim point is using the numbers to figure out how much break you have. But the problem is, if I was able to use a computer on the green, I could put the ball down in the hole in its position and get the exact percentage of break for that putt, and you could do the exact formula. With the book, you're only getting one spot every few feet. So you're figuring out a few spots and saying, if the rest of the putt is like those spots, then this is what it would be for your percentage of break. So you're not getting an exact percentage of break. You're just saying, here's a spot and here's a spot. That's what it is right there. So I usually look at the hole in left and right of it, and you see what the slope is beside the holes. Yeah. And then if it looks like it's flat, but it's actually a little right to left break, you're just using your eyes like you should be when you're putting to say, hey, this is actually a little right to left. It's not flat like it looks. and then you can kind of read your putt with that. But you don't get enough numbers.
You're starting to use a greens book?
You don't get enough numbers to figure out an exact percentage. So aim point is still a general estimate on your percentage.
Got it.
Is that what you're doing, James? You're doing the aim point? You're learning to teach?
Well, I've gone through the express read like 4 times. Every year with our membership, we do like we bring in a guy who's aim point certified.
Yeah.
He takes us through it. But I took the book that Scott gave me as like almost like as a measurement with using like aim point, like 0.1, 0.2, like, you know, and then percentage of grade, like whatever it is.
Oh, only when you go to Bethpage?
Correct.
Ah.
But it's been working out.
What's your Bethpage handicap?
Oh, it's got to be like almost plus now. I've had some good rounds there lately.
Really?
Yeah. I shot like,
Baller, big baller.
It's the book. It's not fair. It's the book.
So
It's only the book.
So James, you and Joey are teammates when y'all play?
Yeah, my high and low, and then
Okay.
Joe. We have a rule with Joe. If he loses the first ball, he drops his second one next to mine.
Okay,
And then,
there you go. That makes golf fun, and that's how it should be.
yeah, but it's tough, man. Given like 8 shots on the black.
Yeah.
Are you winning prize money with that greens book?
I haven't got to use it. Everything
I know where we're going.
is
Paid a lot of money for that greens book.
I know
you did.
I'm making money. I'm sending out copies. No, I'm just kidding.
That bothers Joe.
You don't want to put that out
The
there.
sad part in my yard.
I'd rather not make any more anyway, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah. All right. So as we're winding down, we've been kind of rapping for a while, and the happy hour is really fast, and you get loose, and it's fun to tell the stories. So what I'm going to do, because I've been listening to other podcasts, I've been on a couple of podcasts. They've been doing this quick fire to kind of end it. So I want to do the same because it's fun. And maybe in the future we're going to see like a magic 8-ball or something come out. But for now, you know, in the fans edition, I got a couple of questions. We'll start with Ty over there. Because now it's going to be what they call couch quarterback, you know, because there's no fans. Everybody's going to be on TV watching. So, and I know when you're sitting there looking on the edge of the rope and you're like, oh man, that guy missed it. I would have played it this way. Or, oh, look how far away he hit it from the hole. I would have done this. So my question to you on the little quick fire on the hot seat is your armchair quarterback advice for one of these pros moving forward would be what? What, just the top of your head, what are you thinking you would give an advice?
I have no idea. I mean, play the same they've been playing. I don't know. You talking about these pros playing with no fans at all?
No fans at all. Now they don't know what's going to happen. You're going to have, you know, what do you think
I
gonna
got it. Just be loose. Like, you know, do not exactly what Phil and Tiger and the whole match was about, but, you know, give us something akin to that to where we can feel like we're still in it.
Right. Be loose. I like it. That's what I was looking for, the armchair. Nico, you're up next, and this is the one I love. What is the single trick to play in the black course? Bethpage Black.
The single trick, the best tip I could give you
Yes.
is you have to be long and accurate off the tee if you want any chance to score a respectable number.
They kind of tell you that on the first tee, but I love it. I love it. That's cool. Very cool. Joey, you're up.
I'm ready.
What do you got for me here, Joey? All right, this is for you. The best place to eat after the round at Bethpage Black.
Oh my God.
Your number one go-to spot. What is it?
Taste.
No. Coal fire.
Right there. I like to go to Croxley's. Grab a beer, have some wings, just relax. Have the big bar,
what
tons
is
of
it?
beers on tap. Croxley's Ale House. It's right on Main Street.
Ale House. All right, there's a shameless plug for Crossley's. We're going there next time.
We're coming 2024.
No, it's next year, dude.
Oh yeah, it's up
What's going on next year over there.
I'm in.
Then Low, you're up, Low. What's the best New York airport to fly into?
Oh, it's definitely not the garbage.
That's a trick question.
There is no.
Joey's like, that's a trick question. What do you? Where we go? We're going to Newark. Where are we going?
No way.
We
It's
need to
even
know,
worse.
Sure.
We do need to know.
I'd say you probably got to go to Boston. You want to get out of a good airport.
Crum to Hartford. BDT, what is it up there?
So anywhere but LaGuardia is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anywhere but the garbage, for sure. For sure.
I'll take that answer. I just wanted one of the locals to say.
We needed that. That was a great question.
I'd rather you shout it out like if you were on the side of the ropes and somebody's ball was in front of you. Stay out of LaGuardia! I'd rather like to hear it that way, you know. But I'll take it. I'll take it. Look garbage.
Look garbage.
And then, James, since you're the golfer and you've got the most experience there, we're going with the age-old question, the dream foursome.
At Bethpage?
Let's go Bethpage. Who would you take?
Duffner.
Michael Jordan, for sure. Tiger. And then, oh my God, it's tough.
Me.
Probably Joe, because he uses a 4-iron on every hole. And it'd be a good laugh, like just to watch him play.
That's
and then,
great.
I don't know.
First alternate? We'll give you a first alternate.
First alternate.
Come on. Somebody good.
Somebody good. It's a lot harder when you're on the spot.
It is.
You need like a musician in there. So like John Mayer to round it off.
Oh, that'd be sick.
And
I love it. I mean, that works. That works. Hey,
that's
you
a crazy
got it. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, yourself, my man Joe, the 4-iron Joe. We're gonna call him now.
John Mayer.
What's Tiger and Jordan gonna say when he grabs that 4-iron? That's what I want to hear.
I feel like the trash talk would be awesome in that group to Joe. That's why I have to find somebody who's bad.
If he keeps grabbing, they wouldn't let him. He'd only be allowed to do it a couple holes. That would be it.
I'm like, Joe, if you're ever gonna get good with the driver, you gotta hit it.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's juice. They juice this.
There it is.
They juiced it. He said. Hey, I tell you what, that was so awesome. I'm glad you guys were able to join. This is going to wrap up the Caddies United Happy Hour podcast, the fans edition. We're going to kind of move forward in the next few weeks as we get started with our real jobs, which is pro golf. So you might start hearing a lot of familiar voices in the Prez and B. Reed and myself, D-Lo, moving forward. So if you have questions or you have topics that you'd like us to try and kind of dig into, go to the caddienetwork.com, put your requests in there, and we'll see if we can't get to them, because first and foremost, we're caddies, and secondly, we're like bloggers, podcasters, content developers. But thanks for being with us again on the happy hour, and we look forward to the next time. So, boys, sign off. I mean, don't sign off. Just, raise a glass to everybody that's going to watch this on the YouTube channel.
Therapy session.
Yeah.
Yes, cheers.
Much love.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we the fans are a big part of what goes down for all of us, and we were glad that we got to run into you at the 19 Bethpage PGA, and obviously you guys made an impression on us, and hopefully we get to catch up again next time we go to Bethpage, and anywhere else around the world you guys want to come out, hang out. But for everybody listening, this is the Caddy United Happy Hour. There we go. There's a couple of us in there. We're stumbling a little bit, but that's what it's all about.
It's almost 2 hours. Happy 2 hours, but
hey, thanks for joining us. Peace out.